No bueno.
Yeah, I look down, I see that thing sitting there peeking, and I'm like, it's gray. And I was like, oh, no. Got everything working with the volume. 3.
You've hit the button though now, right?
Yes, we were active. And we were technically already recording. 3, 2, I'll use this as a blooper reel at the beginning of it. No, seriously, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. I am Indy RPM.
I'm the Curio Hunter.
I'm Monster Truck Damon.
And we are Unbox the Universe, where we unbox trading cards so you don't have to. But tonight we have a special midweek mini for you, and I've asked my friends here and fellow hosts to bring an item of particular interest to them that has some type of sentimental or personal attachment that you have to it, and explain why, and as an opportunity for us to get to know a little bit more about each other, but also for our audience to get to know a little bit more about us. And so to take the pressure off you guys, I'm going to go ahead and go first. And what these guys are going to do, I'm doing like a Zach Morris type thing, so you guys just freeze. Okay. So what they're going to do is sit here and pretend that they haven't already heard the story once. But the truth is, we already recorded this once. The audio was off, and now I'm going to do it again. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I will go first, and I will talk about this here Voltex 2 bowling pin. Back in 2006, 2007, I participated in a local bowling league. And I wasn't very good initially. Took a little bit, but like anything, with practice you get a little better. And towards the end of my 3rd season, there was 2 matchups for the end of the year. This was the second to last one. My last game, I bowled a perfect 300. And so in an effort to memorialize the occasion, I couldn't afford the $350 championship $300 or 300 perfect game ring. So I decided to walk down an oily lane, grab this as it reset as a head pin, walked back. I think I even took a picture, maybe kissing it, which was nasty. This thing was horrible. And
So how old? This was 2007. That thing seen some good life.
Yeah.
How old do you think the pin was by the time you hit it?
At least 10 years old. At least 10 years old. Yeah. Yeah, because I happen to know.
That's a kind number.
Yeah, I'm saying at least. Only because I know the bowling alley I'm speaking of no longer exists. But I know that he bought his pins used, which is partially why I didn't feel so guilty about going down there and taking one. Because this, believe it or not, I have taken very good care of this. This is almost exactly how it looked the day that I knocked it over. Or I assumed it was one that I knocked over, at least once. But it has actually come to symbolize a lot more. The facility where I used to play no longer exists. I was very fortunate enough to get to play my first rock concert there as a drummer. And then Monster Truck Damon and I, when the place actually shut down, we played, I think, their last show, maybe there. They may have had one other show after us that sort of fell in, but we were supposed to be the last show. And
good memories there.
Yeah. But when I see this, I don't just think about the 300 game that I have, and I don't think about just the show. I don't know a better way to put it other than, like, I feel like this thing sort of symbolizes my life. It looks kind of rough. It served its purpose. But it represents a very fond time in my life. I wasn't married yet. I was pretty well free. I just started a career. And it's sort of nice to look back and realize all the things that I've accomplished. That even though at the time I probably felt like I looked like this pin, I feel a lot better now about myself and who I am. And it was important to me to share that with you guys. Plus, I just knew it would be something interesting because, granted, this was something I did 20 years ago, so you guys probably weren't very aware of the fact that that I was a bowler at one point, or in fact, actually bowled a 300 game.
That's
so
Very good. Well,
pretty impressive.
yeah, one 300 game. Any guy can get lucky and throw 10 balls.
So I mean, you
Yeah.
addressed that we had attempted to record part of that story earlier, and in that version of the story, you mentioned that you were bowling like 185.
Yeah,
which
so my
for-
average was 185, 187, somewhere in there. I think I played 4 years, so it alternated year after year. I don't think it started out there. But we had guys that were as good as like 240. You know, like that's absurd. That's a lot of strikes in a row.
right.
I still think if you can bowl 180, you can impress your friends at the party.
Well,
You
well
know,
so that's
that
you
kind
know
of
the funny thing is that's sort of the punishment of it. Like I'm good enough to go, like I'm good enough to bowl, and when I show up with all my friends, like, oh, he's really good. No, I'm really not. Like, there are people who are actually good at this. You just aren't playing with them. And I'm slightly above average. But it happens all the time. We'll go out in big groups. I'll string a couple strikes along out of pure luck, not talent, because I have not played much in 20 years. But it always gets the same response. Oh, you're really good at this.
Any excuse to gobble like a turkey, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you just, like, that's what everybody's hoping
Yep,
for.
yep,
If I
yep,
can
yep.
just get 3 in a row, that's all I want to do.
Yeah, that's yeah. And then if you get 4 in a row, we call that a ham bone.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
ham bone. For those of you who didn't know, turkey is a hat trick. It's 3 in a row. Yeah. Deuce, single strike. But that's my story on my bowling pin. If you don't mind, we'll just move.
No, I want to thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, well, most people don't, and I assume when you looked at this, I mean, it's been in multiple offices of mine. If you noticed it at all, you're like, oh, that's maybe just something he thought was a nice relic
Yeah.
or something.
I like it when you drop it on the floor.
Yeah, well, it's got
Yeah.
that sound that
An
you
iconic
expect to hear.
sound.
I'm
Yeah.
easy to please, but
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. You string 10 of those together, it sounds beautiful.
I couldn't have that in office because I'd just be playing with it all day.
You just wait until he's playing the drums next week, but he's actually like beating it with.
I also imagine people doing like they try to do with water bottles where they like
Yeah.
throw it and flip it and land it. Like you start doing that with the bowling pin.
Just don't break that.
By the way, that just happened off screen. I don't.
Okay, Monster Truck Damon, would you mind displaying your piece so we can see
Yeah.
what you got? And tell us why you brought it.
So this is not the original one that I owned, and I have to admit that I have a few of these, but this is from the year 2000. This is the Hot Wheels Mattel version of the real-life monster truck Goldberg, which was piloted by Tom Mintz, who was not in his rookie year when he began driving Goldberg, but very early in his career, which would end up in 14 World Championships. This is around the time I started tuning in and watching with my parents. My dad and I would watch TNN every Friday night, that old channel. This was been around the year 2000, 2001, and for 2 years that truck ran and was my favorite truck. It was my first favorite truck, and they only made 1,000 of these Hot Wheels with the what they call a long card. Generally, the other cards that they made more than 1,000 of would come up to about here, and did not have the wrestler's face on it. Bill Goldberg himself there. Sting, the wrestler, also had a truck, and then just a general Nitro WCW truck. It was somewhat of a trifecta partnership with Monster Jam, which is the Monster Truck League, Hot Wheels Mattel, which produced the toy itself, and then WCW. But and you've explained this to me, Indy, that there was kind of a buyout between the WWE and the WCW. I was never a wrestling fan. The people that were into this weren't necessarily wrestling fans. They weren't necessarily not wrestling fans.
I'm really curious,
but,
not to interrupt your story, why Goldberg? Why his monster truck?
well, because of Tom Mintz, the driver.
The driver, okay.
For those that don't know, which I'm sure might be a lot of people out there, there was a truck called Gravedigger that still runs to this day, pretty iconic. If you don't know monster trucks, you probably do know of Gravedigger. He was pretty unrivaled and unparalleled at the time, very on-edge driving. In fact,
I feel like when it comes to monster trucks, and I don't know much, I've been with my nephew like twice.
Yeah.
I feel like from an outsider looking in, you sort of know like 2 monster trucks, just as base knowledge: Bigfoot and Gravedigger. Like, I feel like most people would understand it as nothing more, if nothing more than a pop culture reference.
Exactly.
But I feel like people actually know. If you say Gravedigger, most people know they're talking about a monster truck.
And so Bigfoot doesn't compete in monster trucks.
Yeah.
So therefore, Gravedigger at that time
was the big
dog. And Tom Mintz comes along, and between him and his driving and the partnership with WCW and Mattel, things really took off for the whole league those 2 years. Going back to the buyout that happened between WWE and WCW, they basically made a clause that the wrestlers couldn't be sponsoring the trucks anymore, and the drivers got kind of redispersed into new trucks. Tom Mintz stayed with a similar looking truck and pretty much retained all of his fans, and then, like I said, went on to win he won 4 world championships, 3 world championships in Goldberg, and then he went on to win another 11, and I was at his last event that he drove at in Indianapolis.
Do we know where the Goldberg truck is now?
So
did they repurpose them?
The chassis got turned into the next version. There was, I believe, Goldberg 1 and 2. There might have been a third, but Goldberg 1, the chassis itself for the real life truck, was destroyed in a stunt where Tom was trying to jump over a bunch of other trucks and do a backflip at the same time, and he ended up landing the truck on top of the old truck. Oh, wow. And they retired that chassis. Not sure where the second chassis got to, but and then Tom retired last year at the end of 2024. So, but the last thing I'll say is what made the Goldbergs unique as opposed to Gravedigger, Nitro Machine, and Sting was Hot Wheels was using a Chinese factory at the time, and I don't know if it was something to do with the paint they were using at that specific factory. They ended up moving it to Thailand, but the gold on the wheels made, I guess, kind of the joint where the wheel connects to the metal there. It made it weak, and it would weaken over time. Okay. And several kids that bought these, the wheels broke off before they even took them out of the box. They would see that it would be flopping around in there, and I dropped mine as a 5-year-old on the concrete floor, and the wheel broke off. Oh, yes. But I have about 5 that are in the box, but I still have the original one with a broken wheel somewhere. So this is the one I could get to. So
cool. I love it. That's a great story. And for a guy named Monster Truck Damon, it's fitting that you would bring.
Yeah, very fitting.
Curio Hunter. All right. I see some beautiful art over there.
So I could not pick just one, so I brought multiple items.
Well, I sort of see a theme here, so I'm guessing that they're all related.
So there is some Asian heritage in my family, and so this is from one of my travels. We went to Vietnam, and these are just some of the souvenirs that I brought back, things that I found to be very, very interesting. So this first one is quilling. It's where they take like these tiny pieces of paper, curl them up, and then kind of glue them in, and then it forms like these pictures and stuff. So we'll get some close-ups on it. You may be looking at close-ups.
Yeah, actually, you're already looking at it now. Yeah, we're looking at B-roll.
And so meanwhile, I'm going to show some of the guys.
Can I ask a question here real quick? I've never noticed Vietnam separated as 2 words.
Right. And that may just be a spelling thing on a
I just didn't know regionally if it was if I was missing something, and maybe it was two characters.
I've wondered that myself, but and then I also brought some silk. Wow. I don't know what you would call it. Like, I'm just going to call them pieces of art. Like, people have.
Well, they're 100% art.
Yeah. So people have taken these things because, like, Vietnam's known for its silk, and so people will take it and then just kind of sew together these pictures, and you can see on the back it's just a piece of material and like a little piece of cardboard that they've done that. And these pieces that I have here are the smaller. I mean, like they make even smaller ones, but like the high end ones. These would probably be done like by I'm gonna say like an apprentice or whatever that's learning and stuff, and then they sell them, you know, like to tourists and stuff. The expensive ones get like, you know, you would buy and they would ship back to your house or, you know, things like that. But they depict different scenes very much that are, when I see these, it reminds me of Vietnam. I mean, these are typical things that you would see. Ha Long Bay, you know, the rice villages, the fishing villages and stuff like that. And when we were there, we got to visit some relatives that are still living there, and that was pretty interesting, pretty cool.
This one is
you know, at the time, you know, my mom was like, this might be the closest you ever get to, you know, this side of your family or whatever and stuff. So it was pretty interesting, pretty special.
Yeah. How many times have you been over?
Just once to Vietnam.
Just once. How long were you there?
It was about a week to 2 weeks.
That's a fine amount.
And there's a town that I really liked, sort of in the central part, Hoi An, and it is like the lantern place. And you know, we can look it up, but basically, like they have all these lanterns. So at nighttime, it's bright colors and stuff with these lanterns. Yeah. They closed down, or at least at the time, they closed down the city to motor vehicle traffic, and so it's only walking, and so it's really quiet. You're walking around. It's dimly lit by the colors of these lanterns and stuff. Really one of those magical places. I wouldn't mind going back there again just because it looks so pretty. And stuff.
Well, they're all incredible. I'm struggling to decide of the two. I think these are probably my favorite. There's something about the sails on these ship that just really draws my eyes in, which makes that one so appealing. But from an artist standpoint,
I like the detail back in here.
all of it. This one just speaks to me. I feel like it's not that far from something that I you know, the shadow work, the line work, it's just so clean, and they say any art that inspires you is good art, and I feel like every one of these do that. These were great. These were really great.
That is, and when I look at them, it reminds me, you know, of going back there and stuff, and really, like I said, part of the family heritage. You know, that's where some of the family comes from, and so it was good to go.
I also think that one is probably these three.
That's just different. The quilling, and that's the first place I've seen it. Now you can look it up and find it, but
I think you don't really appreciate it as much until you get close and realize that each one of those little inserts they have wrapped so tightly to give the impression of one part of a pedal. Like, it's just absurd.
When you turned it sideways, I could see that was raised. That was pretty staggering.
Well, and the thing is, because, you know, people will work, you know, all day to make something like that, and then a tourist will buy it for like $5 US or something. You know what I mean? And stuff. And
is it called filigree? Paper filigree?
Filigree or quilling, But it's just it's very interesting. And if anybody gets the chance to travel, see different cultures, it really gives you an appreciation for what we have here. But you know, see how other people live, and you know, and a lot of times people aren't necessarily complaining. That's just how they live life and stuff, and they're happy as well.
They don't know any different. Yeah.
So
they live within.
I mean, you know, we've all kind of got basic wants and needs and stuff like that, and you know, if you got your family and
water, food, shelter,
I mean, like then you can be pretty happy and stuff. So anyway, so that's it for my items.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for not only humoring me for the concept for this video, but bringing such interesting pieces that help not just me but our fans get to know a little bit about you. I have found this episode to be just really thrilling.
And can I say to our audience, you know, please comment below if you like this sort of thing.
I was totally about to go there.
Well, and what you want to hear more from us, because I'm sure we've got many more items that we could bring in. But if there's something you want to know about us, please let us know. And if you like this format, because I think we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, we find out. You know, we've been friends for a long time, and like every week we do this, we find out a little bit more about each other that we didn't even know.
Well, there was one evening here that sort of sparked this. Curio and I were having the same issues that we have most weeks, where we're two guys trying to run a small little live stream out of my basement in a small little makeshift studio, and it just wasn't working. And even though we have been very good friends for years, we started to actually talk about common ground between us. Talking about his
that we
family.
didn't know at the time.
No.
You know, we just like somebody threw out something.
We were talking about cousins and sort of, and that sort of piqued my interest. I realized real quick that we were having a natural form of dialogue. I was learning something that I was really interested about because you're my friend, and I let that marinate for a while, and I was like, how do I get us to be that natural and that compassionate, understanding, and talk about ourselves in a way that we would both be comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And this is the method I chose. So hopefully, as Curio said, you guys like it as much as I do, and I think the boys like it as well. And we will know by your likes and comments and your shares. But beyond that, I don't know that we have anything else. We won't necessarily touch base on our cards, though we do hope that you check out our cards. We are very adamant about making tons of playlists that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Curates, I guess, or catalog of videos, whatever your interest is, whether it's a guest video or it's a live stream video. We've got them separated there, and there's plenty of long form content for you guys to check out. I would also ask, if you don't mind, the Curio Hunter has a channel as well, at the Curio Hunter, where he does post at least once a week, most weeks more than once. And then if you don't mind visiting thedamonmitchell.com.
Is that?
thedamonmitchell.com for Monster Truck Damon. It's got his tour schedule as well as merch and some other things that you can get. Really important to get. His merch has been very hot. We were talking about that the other evening.
We're currently doing, I just re-upped. You can, I play about 200 shows a year. I tour as the lead guitarist for Adam Calvert. I also do my own shows, hit about 30 states a year.
Yeah.
And I break a lot of guitar strings. And so, music has been a family thing for me, especially my father and I. My mom is getting involved by repurposing my guitar strings into bracelets.
They're really popular.
We have...
I bet. Really? That's a great idea.
We have, I think, I hate to give away numbers, but I think she has made nearing the 200 mark at this point.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of strings,
so
too.
We're going through. Yes,
you don't go into it with the intention of getting a little bit more inventory by breaking some.
Well, it makes me a little more willing to get crazy with the guitar, But yeah, so there's that. And then there's a few other things. I work with an organization called Threads of Hope that I wear headbands to every event. They make those, and part of the proceeds go to a good cause. But yeah, and you guys have batarangs.
We do. Yep. At unboxtheuniverse.com, you can find batarangs for sale. If you guys don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Might as well.
Okay. I appreciate your guys' time. I've been Indy RPM.
I'm the Curio Hunter.
I'm Monster Truck Damon.
And this has been Unbox the Universe, where tonight we unboxed ourselves, and hopefully you got to know a little bit more about us. We'll see you next week.